Welcome to this podcast in a series developed by the Nebraska Juvenile Justice Association. Njja is a 501c3 not-for-profit public benefit association. The mission of Njja is to improve services to youth in the juvenile justice system by serving as a resource for collaboration, leadership development, and education for juvenile justice system professionals and interested stakeholders. Our efforts are greatly enhanced with the generous support of the Sherwood Foundation. Please visit our website at njja.org to see a list of upcoming podcasts, as well as the opportunity to revisit those podcasts previously recorded. We welcome your thoughts as to potential podcast topics and interest. Welcome to the Juvenile Justice in Nebraska podcast, produced by the Nebraska Juvenile Justice Association. Episode 10, Njja podcast. We got a special one for everybody today. Today we're going to focus on our upcoming conference. Got some really exciting guests with us, some people that have been involved with Njja for a long time. I tell you what, let's go through and just do some introductions real fast, and we'll get on our way here. Jim, you want to get started here?
You bet. I'm Jim Bennett. I'm the executive director of Teammates of Lincoln, and I'm currently on the NJJ board and have been since 2010. And previously I was in juvenile justice work at the Lancaster County Youth Services Center, did some work with the public schools out there. And then after that, I was the director of supervision services for juvenile probation for about 5 years. So I had a lot of juvenile justice work.
Jim,
glad to be here today.
Real quick, how many conferences do you think you've attended?
Well, I've been on the board this will be the 10th one. I've been on the board, and I probably attended another 7 or 8 before that, maybe 6, 7, 8, something like that.
Okay. Mike, you want to go next?
Yeah, I'm Mike Wren. I'm a restorative practices specialist with Lincoln Public Schools. I'm a former NJJA board member and board president. I have probably attended, I'm just going to say 15-ish.
Oh, wow. Okay, Amy, how about you next?
All righty. Hi, everybody. I'm Amy Latcha. I'm a juvenile justice specialist with the Administrative Office of the Courts and Probation in our Juvenile Division. And Jim kind of went through his sordid history, and I've been knocking around juvenile justice for about 30 or so years. Started out at YRTC Geneva and juvenile parole, and then been 20 years with probation, was a probation officer in District 3J in Lincoln, and then been with the admin office for the last 10. Gads, as far as conferences, when you can't remember how many, does that tell you how many, Rico? So I think probably like Mike, I think I've probably been, at least 12 conferences, but was lucky enough to get to work with everybody here on the planning committee for probably last 7 maybe or so.
Yeah,
so it's been great to be a part of getting everything together for the conference.
Yeah, and obviously a huge thanks to you and the whole planning committee. You guys have done such an amazing job over the past, forever, quite frankly. But moving on, Theresa.
Hi, I'm Theresa Goalie. I'm the permanency director for KVC Nebraska. And oh my goodness, probably about 25 years working with kiddos. Originally, I did a lot of acute care. So I'm a licensed clinician. So I did that for quite a few years, and then switched over a little more from mental health to child welfare, and spent a few years as director for the Office of Juvenile Services when that still existed. And when that transitioned over to probation, I transitioned over to probation as well for about a year or so, and then landed back at KVC, where I've been now for about 6 or 7 years again. NJJA, goodness, I was trying to think too. I'm thinking about 10 years of conferences. I have been part of the planning committee since its inception, which is really exciting to see how it's grown and kind of what it's morphed into. That really initiated due to the conference growing and it just needing a little more attention. And so it's been great to work with this group to continue to enhance the conference.
Thanks, Theresa. Last, but absolutely certainly not least, Monica.
Hi, Rico. I'm Monica Miles Steffens, and I am currently with the Juvenile Justice Institute. I started coming to NJJA conferences, I think, clear back in like 2001, 2002, something like that. I've always said that I would put NJJA's conference up against any conference in the country in terms of the quality of speakers and networking and opportunities at the NJJA conference. So I've been the former executive director of NJJA, and I've been on the planning committee for a long, long time.
Excellent. Just got a tap on my shoulder by our producer here. Sounds like Doug Kramer just joined us as well. Hey, Doug.
Hey, everybody. Sorry that I'm running late. The traffic in Kearney is terrible for Kearney.
Not a problem.
I'm with the Buffalo County Attorney's Office. This is actually the start of my 18th year, so I can tell you exactly my first NJJA conference was in Grand Island in 2004. I think I've attended every one since 2004. I was also on the board and was a past president of the Nebraska Juvenile Justice Association, and all of my staff, it's not, are you, or do you want to go? It's you are going to the conference, because like Monica mentioned, it's one of the best. I would say, I'm a little biased, of course, but I think it's the best juvenile justice conference, not hands down, in the nation. And I've been to a few that juvenile court judges have done. I've been to ones in Florida. I've been to ones in Vegas and California, and the bang for the buck is right here in Nebraska.
Well, obviously, sorry, Doug.
I'm just going to say I appreciate everything that the current boards and the past boards have done, because it's a collaborative effort by many, many people and agencies. You wouldn't be able to do this without the great volunteers, and we've gotten to the point where NJJ now has executive directors. And I remember when we got 150 people, it was a big conference.
Yeah, sure. So we're gonna, I'm obviously looking forward to picking your guys' brain a little bit because of the experience, not only of NJJA conference, but the length of time you've been in the field. But listeners, you have to bear with us here too. This is our first one that we are doing via Zoom. So a big thanks to Tracy, who works with NJJA, for setting this up. It's kind of neat to see how far we've come and have the ability to do some of this work. So it's my understanding that, Theresa, we're going to lose you here relatively soon. Like everybody else on the call, you got a full-time gig that takes up plenty of your time. Theresa is an integral member of our planning committee, and I'd love to hear a little bit about what you guys have been doing. As a reminder, the conference is in May 5th, 6th, and 7th. Again, we're at the Eunice Conference Center. There in the right off the interstate in Kearney. But Amy and Theresa, you want to fill us in kind of where we're at right now?
Yeah. So I appreciate that, Rico. And yeah, this planning committee does a lot, and it takes a group of people for sure. There's kind of some subcommittees within the planning committee. So there's the overarching planning committee. And then within that, we have a speaker committee, we have a hospitality committee, all working to really make the best conference possible for everyone who attends. A lot of that behind the scenes stuff that when you go to a conference, you don't think about. I do now when I go to conferences and think about the snacks and why rooms are set up a certain way, and why schedules are done a certain way, and those kinds of things. And there's a lot to it. And we want it to run as smoothly as possible. We want it to be a great experience for everyone. So we do spend a lot of time on the detail. This year specifically has been a little more interesting to plan. As many of the listeners know, we had to unfortunately cancel our 2020 conference due to the pandemic. And so moving into this year's thing, we really did try to, as much as possible, replicate what we were going to do in 2020. So those individuals who had planned on speaking, whether it was a keynote or breakout session, We offered them the opportunity to come in 2021, just due to the cancellation. And so some of the scheduling was a little easier due to that. And then with that, there was also some challenges in regards to trying to get the schedule back on track. And so I think we're there. We have a full schedule for the 3 days that we're super excited about, lots of different topics, some great keynotes. And so we're really hoping, even though we couldn't do a conference last year, that basically this one's just going to be bigger and better than we would have even done last year.
Theresa, are we able
Amy?
to go ahead?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Amy.
Do you have anything to add, Amy?
I ditto to every bit of that. As we've evolved and Theresa talked about the evolution of the conference, we worked very hard to make sure that we've got national speakers that really can deliver to everybody who attends the best in juvenile justice evidence-based practice. Evidence-based practice stuff for kids just didn't exist really 10 years ago. And as that's evolved, we've wanted to keep up and be able to get that to everybody in Nebraska. But I think we're also equally as proud to have breakout sessions from providers, from therapists, from local people in doing the business. And I think when Doug talked about the difference between, what makes us maybe one of the top conferences, I think a lot of us have been to national conferences, and you had a lot of sessions where people were bragging up their program and look how great we've done. And we focus very, very hard to make sure that everything that's presented, that every participant, whether you're from Valentine or you're from Omaha, you can take something away from that session to apply to your program, to what you do. It's really important for us to do that. So everybody can benefit from any kind of presentation we have. Try to get folks to do a lot of skill-based things. And I think you'll find with the agenda that we've got this year, Rico, we're hitting that mark, I think, pretty well. And also we want to be really committed to making sure that as many sessions as possible can qualify for CEUs and continuing ed, for attorneys, for probation registered providers, for licensed, credentialed folks. We really want to make us experience something that every minute you can take something away, whether it's a session or whether it's our networking sessions, those types of things. So think we got a good lineup, and it'll be fun. It's almost like a major celebration to be able to get together live and in person again. So,
and if I missed this, I apologize, but can we or can we not name those keynote speakers? I think everybody would love to know who they're going to come out and see.
Okay. You going to do that, Theresa, to make sure we get it right, or am I going to do that?
I sure can. So opening up Wednesday morning as the keynote is going to be Karen Vadino.
Fantastic.
A lot of folks may have heard her before. She's been in Nebraska a few different times in some different venues, and we are super excited to have her back. The cool thing about Karen is it's not just her knowledge, but it's her application comes across in just a really fun way, and allows people to kind of take that time we need to laugh a little bit about the work that we do day to day, because it is hard, but she puts a really fun spin on it. And so she will be there. And her keynote is titled All Stressed Up and No One to Choke. So that's opening our Wednesday morning. On Thursday morning, and Amy, I'm probably going to let you talk a little bit. You have a little bit more detail on Robert and Ivy's presentation. They're from RFK.
RFK meaning?
You bet. I've brought it up, Rico, so I didn't totally butcher exactly how to do this. Our speakers are going to be Robert A. Birmingham and Ivy Tillman from the Robert F. Kennedy. I know I'm not going to say this right. Monica may have to help me. Children's
National Juvenile Justice Resource Center.
That's why it just doesn't slip right off the tongue. But RFK, as we commonly know them,
Yep.
has been doing some extensive work in Nebraska. Their specialty is working around system reform. And they've been working with us on specifically probation and a probation focus, but all of the other stakeholders that work along with us. And their presentation, their keynote, they're going to do a keynote for us, and they're also going to do 2 additional breakout sessions. And what they're going to focus on is accelerating reform, accelerating change, and through the lens of adolescent development and positive youth development. And then their breakout sessions are going to focus for us on family engagement. Robert and Ivy, the exciting thing about them is they are both actively working day jobs in Fairfax County, Virginia, so one of the largest probation districts in the nation. And it's great, again, that we have the national experts that consult for RFK, but are also able to bring us live experiences to what they're doing day to day. So that's what they're planning on delivering to us.
Thanks, Amy. Friday, we'll close out with Jermaine Galloway. Some of you might know him as Tall Cop, that's kind of what he's known for. He really is a drug expert in so many ways. He did do a training for us this last summer, so some folks may have joined into that. So we're going to have him there, and he, again, is really going to talk about some popular drug trends across Nebraska. And again, really looking at not just the metro area, but the rural areas as well, because it is different. And then also really focusing on like interviewing and conversation techniques for professionals to really look at root causes with kids of what causes substance use. And so really some application type techniques for folks to take away from that presentation.
Okay, that's everybody, correct, for those 3 days?
Yep, those are the 3 keynotes.
Great.
Yep.
So one thing that I correct me if I'm wrong, anybody in the panel, but this year one of the things that we love doing the most at the conference is Youth Day, and unfortunately, I don't believe we'll be doing Youth Day in 2021. Correct? Or am I mistaken?
No,
You are incorrect,
See,
Rico.
that's why I asked the board. That's why I asked the panel.
Maybe not incorrect, just maybe not most recently updated.
I think they listen to meetings. That's my problem.
The latest and greatest, I think, that we have is that we're going to be pretty creative. And the one thing that's always been really fun is when you get our national experts that do come to us, they literally just have heart palpitations when they see that we include our youth on Thursday. That are able to come with some adult sponsors, but they attend the conference right along with everybody else. And then we have a special call to action at the end of the day on Thursday for them to message to us as folks working professionals in the field what they believe ought to be changed or enhanced in the system to make their experience better and to help them toward outcomes better. So I think we're going to get creative. We usually get youth who are active in the system, whether they're on probation, within child welfare or in group homes or in other youth programming that may look a little bit different as to who can become involved because of rules of various facilities, et cetera. But I do believe we're going to try to do our best to have quite a few kids come in person, as well as get a little creative with our virtual options. So I think, Rico, we're gonna
that's great to hear.
Still be able to have a piece of it.
Yeah, in all seriousness, I that's one thing I'm glad I was wrong on, because it is such a special time. It's a special thing for not only for obviously for the kids, but for us too to spend some time with them and hear about the good things that's going on. So, somebody on the panel, please correct me. Is it Eunice or Yunes Conference Center? So, someone tell me. Theresa, you look like you have the answer.
I believe it's Eunice, but maybe we need to talk to our Kearney
people.
president.
There you go.
Yeah, it is pronounced the Eunice Conference Center.
Which, and by the way, they have been absolutely phenomenal to work with over the past however many years we've been there. Our executive director, Tom McBride, spent some time out there with them, and they have just been great partners in this whole process. So let's turn to some of the other panelists here, or the other guests. Doug, let's start with you. You mentioned a little bit about the time you've been coming to the conferences, and I think you said about 18 years. Obviously, we know some of the changes that have occurred, but what's the biggest difference? What has evolved over that time?
Well, I just think the number of breakout sessions, along with the keynotes. Obviously they are key, but we also have the breakout sessions where you have you do have a smaller group. You can not be afraid to ask questions. And these are people who are doing the work. And I guess the things I've heard over the years, and this will actually be my 17th year, because since we didn't have it last year, not to keep track, the only negative thing that I've ever heard is that Doug Kramer does not win enough door prizes. That's the only thing I've ever heard negative about this. But that's the other thing with the exhibitors. A lot of people don't think about this, but they come in and they go to a lot of different conferences, and we always hear, at least I can remember hearing positives about the conference, and they bring in expertise as a vendor, things that, I started using Third Millennium Classrooms because of one of the conferences had them come. And so that's one of the things that I really appreciated. What's new, what's innovative. Like Amy mentioned, the evidence-based stuff. We want to make sure the programs that we're doing here on the front line, so to speak, are actually helping youth. And in diversion programs and truancy things that we do here in Buffalo County, we don't want to see youth come back again. I want to see them make positive choices, and all of our staff here that's the top priority, is to offer that assistance. And throughout the whole state of Nebraska, no matter where the youth is at, we want to help support them and the workers that are actually doing the work. So that's one of the biggest things I've seen over the years, is everybody's always been wanting to help youth and families, but there's a big push for it as the years go, because there are limited resources out there, and helping us all work together really makes a big difference.
Well, thanks for that, Doug. And Jim and Mike, if you can correct me if I'm wrong, since you two are the resident experts at giving our gifts away at the conference, didn't Doug win like twice 2 years ago?
Doug's had his fair share, I think. Yeah. The city of Kearney has had their fair share.
Hey, Mike, since I got you, speak to the same question that Doug just answered. What has changed during your time visiting and attending the conference?
Wow, there's been so much, because I first attended when the conference was in Grand Island, and at that time it was only a day and a half, and I think there was 100 people was kind of what was expected or hoped for. It was, and it still is, the most cost-efficient conference you could ever attend, because back then it was like $75 for a day and a half. And so it was, then as we kind of really took it to another level, as we decided to move to Kearney to a bigger venue, there was a lot of stress during that year in planning that conference, because it had increased costs with a bigger venue. And we were also expecting that we needed to kick our numbers up to cover those costs and to be able to provide good content. So we were very excited after that first conference. I think we jumped up to nearly 200 people, I think, that next year. And we were very pleased with that. And again, the planning committee, as it is now, is such a blessing to the NJJA board and to the conference, because I remember sitting with board members, and there was like 8 of us, and we would spend 2 hours trying to think of a theme for the conference. And then we would spend a day, 2 days, just ourselves planning everything out. And that's a lot of stress for just that amount of people doing that, trying to run the board, get everything organized. So it really has evolved into, as other people have said, and I would agree, is one of the, if not the best juvenile justice conference around. And we've heard those comments from other people who have attended our conference and who have a lot of history with juvenile justice and have attended other conferences in the country. So we're very excited. I'm very proud to know that I've started out in Grand Island and seen its whole, I guess, evolution to what it is today. And every year there's always that conversation of, one time I think we dealt with swine flu and different things like that. Like, what are we going to do? Oh, we just raised the conference like $10. Like, are people going to freak out? And there's budgets and the economy in 2008, and every year we increased our attendance, and it just amazed us. So I felt like that we have a lot of support here in the state and also in the region as well for people who come to attend.
Sure. And please.
Sorry to interrupt. I was going to say, Mike, don't remember the discussions we had whether we should have corn or carrots as part of the meal. That sometimes took a lot. And those are the things that you don't really think about going into it. And I remember as treasurer having to write a check out, for $20-some thousand. The cost of coffee, I think, went from $12 to whoever knows what it is now. But those are the things, and I think somebody else mentioned that you don't ever think about in behind the scenes of a conference. So it does change.
Yeah, Doug, because those checks going out meant that we didn't know if it was coming back. Yeah. And back then, when we ran our board through a checkbook, it's kind of neat to see where we're at now with working with grants and the size of the board and committees and those kind of things.
Yeah, and just since Mike mentioned it, grants, the Sherwood Foundation has been great to NJJA, and we always like to thank them during our podcast. I would have to. Yes, please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm going to have to step off. But there's one thing I just wanted to note quick before I go. That's a huge part of the conference that we'd love to see a little bit more response to, and that's our awards. A big part of the Thursday kind of lunchtime is to present awards to individuals. One is a Excellence in Leadership Award. We do Evelyn Labode Service to Youth Award, and then there's a scholarship award for youth. And so for those listening, if you get that communication about awards, please be thinking about individuals. The work that we do and professionals that we know do every day is really, really hard work, and the recognition isn't always there. So this is a great opportunity to recognize some professionals in the field that are speaking out in leadership and in their work with youth around the state of Nebraska.
And those nominations are open and available. You can start submitting those nominations today.
Yes.
Thanks, Theresa. Have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
So going back real quick, from moving the conference from Grand Island to Kearney, and Doug, maybe you could speak to this, but don't feel like you have to. I would assume that helped, our providers and our probation officers and all the other workers out in western Nebraska. I know 45 minutes doesn't seem like a whole lot, but I would assume it's a little easier to get to now that we're in Kearney and not having to drive all the way to Grand Island. So I think that was a good change as well.
Yeah, and I think NJJ just outgrew that hotel. I mean, we always were welcomed, and the hotel and the city did an awesome job, but 150 people in that size of a facility, there's no way you could have done social distancing. Yeah. We were packed in there. So as the group and the association wanted to grow, you had to look at other options. And I think we looked at other places throughout the state, and Kearney just seemed to be the best fit. And if you do conferences and you do them in 3, 4, and 5 year increments, you really get a better deal. You lock in hotel rates, room rates, and some pricing. So there's cost effectiveness, not only with the drive time and all that, but you can do a lot of things as you do multiple year conferences. But personally, I think it's worked out good. And I think the Eunice Conference Center continues to work with us. It used to be the Holiday Inn, and now they've kind of expanded, and they'll even have a bigger one, I think, in a year or two. Now they're building a new hotel. So it's just that whole area is just really expanding for services. And it's kind of goes in hand with what NJJ has done over the years and expanded.
Yeah, the Eunice Conference Center, it really has grown, but they have great food options too. A lot of restaurants around there, and after conference meetings and social hours and things like that. It's important. And Carney does a great job of providing us those locations to do that. Monica, talk to us a little bit about some of your your fondest memories of the conference, and what have you enjoyed in you attending those?
Well, yeah, thanks, Rico. Seeing the organization grow and the conference grow has just been an exciting thing for someone who's been a part of NJJA for a long time. I think one of the things I love the most is that we work really hard to gear the conference towards, there's opportunities for leadership for those that are in leadership positions. There's opportunities for people who are in line staff level positions. There's something at the conference for everyone. And I think that's what's so exciting, is that when we all get there, it's kind of like old home week. And it's just fun to really see people you haven't seen in a year, to get to be able to do and have more conversations than just about work. I think some of my favorite things about the conference are the networking reception, and then all the informal networking that happens afterwards at the different hotel, happy hours and things like that. So that's where just relationships are made. And I think we talk a lot about in juvenile justice that relationships are key with young people, but I think relationships are key with us as professionals too. Nebraska is a small state, and we all can't afford to be competing against each other for resources. So as we can learn from each other and help each other and support each other, and really learn to do good networking, I think the youth and families in our state benefit from that.
Yeah, couldn't agree more, Monica. Jim, same question to you. What have you enjoyed with the conference? And we haven't heard from you yet, so we can't. We don't want to make sure we leave you out, Jim. So
there's a time limit.
Where do I start? No, I'm just kidding. I'll tell you what. It's to be very honest with you, it's early on in those early conferences. It was really. It was an opportunity to get together, like Monica said. It was the networking that you got really excited for, but it was bringing people together who do a lot of really hard work, and who, it's stressful work, like Theresa said earlier. And it was a way for people to get together, learn a little, and have a little fun together. And there was a lot of fun that was had in those first years in Grand Island specifically. I think I'm looking at the Zoom and everyone's kind of grinning ear to ear. We know they were fun. You got a chance to spend time with caseworkers and providers and people that you didn't see. And you, from year to year, you would have these NJJ friends that you would reunite with in Grand Island. And, it was just a great time, and really appreciate it. And that's kind of what, was kind of a draw, was, okay, I need a couple days just to decompress and learn a little bit about what I do and get a little bit better at what I do. And then, like Mike said, moving to Kearney was really stressful. I was my first year on the board, and we were trying to figure out how best to do that. And those little increments, Mike was talking about the cost. The conference has gone up maybe about $50 over the last 10 years, but we've also added a full another day to the conference. And really that covers, food. We don't make, NJJ does not make gobs of money on this conference. It's the idea of the conference is to bring the education to people and really build the profession, and build the discipline of juvenile justice. And so we every year, if we ever have to raise it, it's because the costs go up, and that's really it. We do get a lot of benefit from amazing vendors and sponsors every year. And that's something that they make it possible for us to do this and to continue to do this year after year. We have gold, silver, bronze level sponsors, but it's just we've been so lucky. So watching NJJ grow has been great. It was that year, Monica and Mike and whoever else was. I remember, Monica, you, Corey Steele, Liz Neely presented at that pre-conference we did that year right before juvenile justice reform. And we liked the format. If you remember, then the next year we were like, well, maybe this is a 3-day conference now. and I think people appreciate it now. And it's just that, and we frankly have too much information to get out in a day and a half anymore. We have so many keynotes and so many, there's just so many more opportunities to have great presentations that we have expanded. So I would say, just watching it grow has been really, really fun. And we all have the Grand Island days in the back of our head that we remember being young and stupid.
Moving on.
So.
I just and I wanted to add one more thing to what Jim was
Please.
saying is with that growth, and he talked about how it was really kind of a time for people to step away from their offices or their jobs and to get to know people. With the growth that we've had, I feel like that we've still maintained that atmosphere. We haven't grown so big that you feel like you go there and you don't have time to talk to people, or there's no ways that you could connect, and it's not real fun, and people just go back to their hotel rooms and sit in there and do work or something. But that's what's been amazing from the days of having 100 people and doing that, and now we're having 350, sometimes 400 people still coming together, and the atmosphere is still the same.
You know, and one of the things that I will chime in with is what impresses me the most, or what impresses me about the conference is we'll have 250 direct care employees from various agencies learning what's about the new evidence-based practices and what's going on in the world of juvenile justice in the state of Nebraska. But you almost have that exact many administrators or upper level management people, and they're all there, they're engaged, they're learning together, they're bouncing ideas off of one another. I think that just speaks volumes to the presenters that we have and the openness that we have as juvenile justice providers.
Yeah, I would agree, Rico. Can I add one more thing?
Please. The more you talk, the less I have to. So,
I think too. I would encourage people, if you have an interest in being a part of planning the conference, to reach out to the planning committee and to the board at NJJA, because that is one of, not only is it the best, it's a great leadership, professional development opportunity, but you really get to be a close team. And we've had some really fun times, some stressful times, but I wouldn't, what's really awesome is we've had a couple of years where we've had speakers back out at the last minute, or planes didn't happen because of weather or things like that. And what's so cool to see is that people just rally, like nobody fell apart, everybody just rallies, and that there's so much awesome expertise in juvenile justice in this state. I mean, we've been able, one year we pulled together a youth panel, and had that fill in for the keynote speaker. We have people on the board and on the planning committees that really are experts in the field right here. And so to see them jump in and put together presentations at the last minute or fill in without even thinking twice, it's just a really fun time to be together and put it on the conference together.
Sure.
You know, a good thing to think about right now is that if you want more information about NJJ and the conferences, if you want to nominate somebody for an award that Theresa talked about earlier, or if you want to get involved with the conference, njja.org is the place to go, Nebraska Juvenile Justice Association. And so there you can see, it's got the last multiple years of conferences. You can kind of see what it's about, and there is a place right there on that front page to get somebody nominated for an award. And so please think about that if you're interested in getting involved with NJJ, because there's room for you. We're doing nothing but growing, and the conference is doing nothing but getting bigger. So we need, we're doing podcasts, we're doing webinars, we're doing all sorts of things right now. More, it's not just an annual conference anymore, is it, guys?
No, it absolutely isn't. And there's still more yet to be done. And we're excited for that. And we're looking forward for the years to come.
Hey, Rico.
Yes.
I'm going to tack on as well that the one way that obviously getting involved, we want you to come. We're looking to keep your eye open. We should be opening registration here very soon. We're finalizing agendas so that you know exactly what to expect when you get to the conference. But also, the conference especially I think the last 4 years has been very driven. You drive the next year by the comments that the participants have given us and the feedback we've gotten on evaluations. And Tracy, since she's come on board, has done an amazing job of upping our game to make materials more accessible and going all electronic, and also making it available and easy for you to give us feedback right away on a particular session you attended, on our receptions, on vendors, anything. So we appreciate everybody's feedback. And what's been neat, and I can't think of Grand Island without thinking of the word karaoke. I'm not sure why that happens, guys, but that's what comes to mind. Anyway, but as things have evolved, Mike's right. We've kept the good time and the good networking, and but I believe we've been challenged every year to make the conference better by the participants, saying, "I really want to see this." The demand, and I think your call for wanting this to be a very professional conference that we can have a good time at, but really wanting that need to learn has been super cool, I think, over the years to see that. And that really is what's driven making the conference what it is and what it can be down the line. So Rico, you did say something, but did you get to answer the question? You asked Mike and Jim and stuff.
That's not, I'm on this side of the microphone. You're on that side of the microphone, Amy. I get to decide who answers what question, not you, Amy.
I'm in the same Brady Bunch organization as you are, Rico.
No, they hear from me on this podcast enough. Trust me, they don't want to hear from me when they have to.
I was also going to say, too, that what happens in Grand Island and now what happens in Kearney doesn't stay in either of those communities. That's the great thing about it, because people learn and they take it back to their communities, the positive. So just remember, what happens in Kearney doesn't stay in Kearney. It's spread out throughout the communities and people learn from it.
Yeah, so real quick, Amy, you used the word challenging, and we obviously don't have a more challenging conference to put on than we do this year. With that said, people, it's in person. We get to see other people. We get to be with other people. But I promise you, this planning committee and the board and everybody else is going to do everything we possibly can to keep people safe. We don't want to put anybody in a position where their health is going to be compromised. Obviously we can't guarantee anything, but we are going to do what we possibly can to make sure that those that are in attendance are safe and have a great experience. So again, Amy and everybody in the planning committee, I know there's plenty of you out there. Thank you for taking on this endeavor. Anybody else have anything to add before I add some final comments here? Mike, you're always one to have something to say.
No comment.
Yeah. Okay, so...
Well, I'm excited about the new mobile app that we have that we were going to employ last year and weren't able to. And we've got our podcasts on there. We've got our webinars. Christy Beckman, our event and training coordinator that we just brought on, has been phenomenal getting those things out there. And then I get to test it out with the 2021 conference.
Tracy Weber, ladies and gentlemen. Tracy's been great. Her and Christy have been phenomenal in putting the board and the planning committee in the right direction. So again, a major thanks to you two. That's all I got, guys. I don't know if you have anything. I'm excited. Again, May 5th, 6th, and 7th, registration is going to be up and running here soon. As Jim said, as he was interviewing for my job, go to njja.org and get signed up as soon as you can and put in those award nominations. It's fun for us board members to go through those and not only hear about all the wonderful things that everybody's doing, but then get to recognize somebody too. So that's all I got. Episode 10, signing off. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Rico.
Thanks, Rico.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Great job.